Addison Moore is the youngest guest we've ever had on 06880, the podcast, but he is also one of the most interesting. 2023 graduate of Staples High School and a rising senior at Lafayette College, Addison started one of Fairfield County's largest youth community service groups. He is living proof that teenagers today do care about more than themselves and their smartphones. And now Addison is taking his activism one step further, pursuing a run for the Westport's representative town meeting, the RTM, and would be, I believe, one of the youngest candidates ever.
I think I would officially be the youngest candidate, as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome, Addison, to 06880, the podcast.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it. It's always exciting to get to chat with you.
So I usually start out by asking guests what got them to Westport, and the answers are long and involved, but I think yours will be shorter.
Yeah, well, I have been here, I guess, for about a decade now. Like a lot of Westporters now, I originated from New York City. Moved here right before I went into middle school, so I still got the whole getting on the school bus, going to Bedford, graduating through Staples, the whole 9 yards. So you know, I feel like a real Westporter here. But
what got your parents here from the city?
Well, anyone who is familiar with having kids in the city will know that trying to get into middle school is harder than trying to get into college. The amount of standardized tests that I had to take and the expense of just trying to go there would be ridiculous. And Westport has one of the most incredible school districts, I mean, in the country, honestly. And you know, getting to experience it firsthand, I will say, as you also know very well, it's true. I mean, it is a phenomenal experience to get to go through that school system. So that was the main reason that we moved. But the reason that we stayed was really the community here. It is just such an incredible community of people here.
I think a lot of not kids, I don't like that term, teenagers have a tough time realizing the community that they're in when they're in it. Mm-hmm. You know, once you're gone, you look back, you see it's pretty amazing. But while you're in it as a 15, 16, 17-year-old, it's tough to recognize. But you seem to really have an affinity for the community.
For Westport here. Yeah. I find it funny because anyone who I know who moved from the city or for somewhere else and then came into Westport, came here and had a bit of a culture shock and was like, oh my God, this place is incredible. There's so many resources here. It's amazing. And then people who sort of grew up here are like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to go to the city, you know, and get out of here. I think, what's it called? For me especially, I had sort of the experience of, obviously COVID was happening during high school for me. And so there was a lot of challenges that I was facing, but I kept on finding that every time I sort of tried to put myself out there and try to put myself a bit into the community here, that the community always really positively responded. And whether that was in my social life or if it was with like community projects or community-oriented pursuits or whatever that I wanted to do, the community, the organizations around here, the people around here always responded and always, you know, worked to try and uplift people. And I found that especially students that are, you know, going through Bedford, going through Staples, going through Coleytown, that have really specific passions and have sort of found those resources, have very similar experiences. So I think it's more a matter of people not everyone has quite found the resources yet in order to be able to sort of uplift them into that.
So how would you describe the community of Westport to the person who does not know it?
Oh boy. I guess I would say it's very forward thinking. I think it's very it's a very close community, and like I said before, it's a very, for lack of a better term, kind of uplifting community. I think it's one that you can be sort of vulnerable in the sort of in being sort of who you want to be. If you're looking to try and make change in the world, or if you're looking to try and pursue a passion or whatever it may be, this is the kind of community that has both the resources and the people in it that want to really see you thrive. And so that's one of the reasons why I love Westport so much, right? Just real Westport fanboy here, I gotta tell you.
No, you really are. Negative stuff. what what are some of the challenges of the community and growing up here?
Oh, you mean like specifically for like young people
Yeah.
supposed to be here? Um, I think so. Like I said before, Westport has a huge abundance of resources. I mean, like if I wanted to, I could rent a kayak from the Westport Library, right, and go down the Saugatuck. I mean, it's remarkable. One of the things that I have found when I talk, especially with a lot of my friends and teens that are going, especially through high school or what have you, is they may have certain passions. Or things that they really want to focus on, but they haven't been able to quite find those resources yet. It's not that they don't exist. It's that there's, for certain individuals, the gap between there's this thing I want to do and there is this incredible makerspace in the Westport Library, right? Or there's Toket Hall, which is this incredible teen center. They just don't know about it quite yet. And I think trying to bridge that gap is one of the challenges that I've personally been trying to sort of focus on for a lot of young people in the town. So that's what I would say.
You don't feel, is this a bubble? People say it's not the real world. You grew up in New York City, which is far from a bubble, much more heterogeneous and
Yeah, for sure. Yes, I would say that Westport is definitely a bubble. I don't know if I've met anyone who would necessarily disagree with that. But what I will say though is one of the things that I love about Westport and I love about growing up here is that despite the fact that it's a bubble, it really does prepare you for the real world, especially like in the school district. The amount of like things like practical experiences that I learned, like I remember taking I forgot exactly what it's called, but like a financial literacy class, like, through Staples. And now I actually know what a W-2 is, right, when I'm trying to get a job. All these other things that Staples and the town here really sort of prepares young people for, despite the fact that they're not challenges that we necessarily have to face while we're actively here. I found available.
Does the town prepare kids too materialistically? That again is one of the raps on Westport is that it's a really material town, and every kid feels that he or she needs to go into investment banking.
Yeah, I know. Finance, especially. I can't tell you, I think almost all of my friends are like wanting to go into like finance and all that other stuff. I think that we can definitely be a little materialistic here, and I think that I have a lot of friends that sort of grew up spending their days like going and like shopping downtown and stuff like that. But I also think that there is a really large section of young Westport teens that are using those resources and are using, a lot of the money and material that is here to actually try and make a positive change in the community. Like I can't tell you how many young teenagers I know that started their own business, where they are using a lot of the resources at the Westport Library, or they're using a lot of the stuff that their parents may be willing to buy them or what have you, to try and not only better themselves, but to try and better the greater community, right? So yes, I would agree we can be a little materialistic for sure, and I do think that Westport is a bubble, but I think that people really underestimate how much young people are using that to try and make a positive change in the world rather than just being on TikTok all day.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
You want to talk about your activism with Up Next?
Sure. Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of New York, so I, like I said, originated from the city. When I was there around the age of 7, I created this just like small cider stand type business thing because I saw how bad food insecurity was in the Upper East Side, which is where I lived. And the goal of that little cider stand was to try and raise funds to help relieve food insecurity. And it ended up getting way bigger than I was anticipating at 7 years old. And, when I moved here to Connecticut, I wanted to kind of continue that passion for food insecurity. And when COVID hit, ironically, it was kind of the perfect opportunity to really try and jump back into it again, because it was the first time. Food insecurity is terrible here in Connecticut, but not a lot of people realize it, because if you're living in Westport, you might not know it's as bad as it is down in the city. And when COVID hit, it became really visual, like people were able to see people lining up, going to food banks. It became something that was more in the conscious sphere. And so that's when I founded my nonprofit, Up Next Teens. So Up Next aims to try and give teens a safe community space while also sort of using their passion to identify and tackle real challenges in the community, so social challenges in the community. And so I founded that my sophomore year of high school, right in the middle of COVID. And since then, I think, as you mentioned, it has grown to be the biggest fully private youth-led nonprofit in the state of Connecticut. Chapters here in Westport, in Fairfield, in Weston. And every year we've done some major initiative trying to make it sort of bigger to activate the community and mobilize the community to try and make a positive change.
For example?
Yeah, a little while back. My favorite one, this is the most recent one, but my favorite one is when we did Feed Fairfield County, where we announced it at our Winter Lights Festival on Jessup Green, right out front of the library right here. The goal of it was to try and raise $22,000 to try and feed 10,000 people in only 1 year using just youth-led initiatives. So it would be just ideas and projects that teens wanted to sort of do. And we managed to do it. We managed to do it in under a year. We managed to raise well over $22K, which was phenomenal. And I think a really good demonstration of sort of, like I said before, what a lot of the teens here are really able to accomplish with what the town is able to provide us.
How do you market it? How do you reach people?
Up next.
Yeah.
Well, it has been a bit of a challenge, mainly because we want teens to be super involved in it. And so a lot of times we have big portions of our marketing team be teenagers, right, that may not be as experienced. But truthfully, after the first year, we really found that teens loved this space enough that they just told their other friends, and it sort of just grew that way. Our Weston chapter, the person who founded it actually came and approached me and said, "Hey, I've been in Westport Up Next Teens. I love it so much. I want to be able to bring this to my town and give teens there the opportunity to have this space to pursue their passions in a way that'll make a real positive change in the community." And I was like, "Great, we'll create a chapter there, right?" So a lot of it has been word of mouth, but a lot of social media too, as you would assume with young people, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You are a commissioner on the Human Services Commission? Is that right?
Yeah, I am.
Talk about that.
For about the past year or so now. So I have, as you would assume, been very involved in youth services here in Westport. Token Hall is like my favorite place in the world. For anyone that doesn't know, it's the teen center here in Westport. And so I was already very familiar with Kevin Godburn, who runs youth services, and a lot of the people in that sphere. And so when I left high school and was no longer able to participate in some of those things, my first thought was, how can I continue to stay involved, and how can I continue to sort of give back to this community so that future people are able to have the same experience that I did. And youth services sort of felt like the appropriate next step for me, where I was able to sort of step in and try and help with a lot of that stuff. So it's been fun. It's been a good experience for sure.
What do you do on the commission? What's the commission do?
Well, so it focuses on both, it kind of oversees a bunch of the umbrella of all of the different aspects of human services. So there is the Youth Commission, which is focusing on sort of like youth type stuff. There's other smaller commissions that are really hyper-focused on different aspects of it. The Department of Human Services Commission oversees everything from youth services to senior services to just human services in general. So pretty much anything that's happening in that sort of world are things that we're looking at and talking about and trying to figure out, right? So that's been sort of the main focus of it, honestly.
So what have you learned about Westport by being on the Human Services Commission?
Well, I always knew that money was a very big part of anything that's able to happen in this town. But between that and also just going to RTM meetings, recognizing genuinely how much a budget can affect a program in the town, right? Understanding how much things like just the rent of a building in order to sort of keep a program alive in a location takes, right? How much money it takes to sort of maintain staff power and a workforce, what have you, to keep these programs really alive. And at times how hard it can be trying to make sure that people are actually aware of these programs so that we can sort of keep them going. So those, I would say that's sort of the big thing, is a little bit of a shock of like, oh wow, this takes a lot of money to to be able to run and continue and what have you.
Do you have a favorite program?
Well, Token Hall, that has been my favorite place in town for like the past 5-something years. So,
what does it do for you?
Well, I think it has done something different over the course of the past couple of years. When I was younger, it was that space where I was able to go with my friends, in 9th grade and get milkshakes like at like midnight, right? My parents, had no idea that I was out doing that late. As I sort of grew a little bit older and started to work on things like Up Next, it became sort of this space where I not only was able to relax and just hang out with friends, but also an environment where I was able to really dip my toes into local government, where I was able to sort of work with them to try and create larger initiatives and partner with other organizations. And then now it is a space that I want to try and preserve for younger people to be able to have similar experiences.
It's been around a while, but I think it kind of has a low key presence in town.
Yeah, I know. There's pictures hanging on the wall of it having just like huge, massive crowds when back in like the 90s and the early 2000s when they used to do bands there, and I think they still do. But yeah, and I was talking with a couple of people that helped to run Token Hall and were and a couple of people who actually used to be in high school back when it sort of was that large. I think that the town as a whole has sort of shifted a little bit. And, I'm one of those really cool kids that when I was in high school wasn't super interested in drinking or going to parties all the time. So Token Hall was kind of this perfect environment for me, right? But I do think there's something to be said, kind of to what I was talking about before, about these resources and the gap between people's passions, that spaces like Token Hall are sort of in the process of adapting to this sort of new generation of young people. So the hope is to sort of make it a little more prevalent in the town. But yes, I will say there's been many times where I've had someone email me being like, wouldn't it be great if there was a teen center in Westport? And I was like, oh, if only you knew. Wow. Yeah.
Well, we were sitting here in the library before we started this. And looking at all the little strollers.
Yeah.
And all the
little kids coming through.
There's a whole new group that's going to be coming through.
Going right through Token Hall.
So talk about the RTM. What made you decide to run? And
Sure. Well, I'll firstly say, for anyone who doesn't know, what the RTM is, because I have found there are many doors that I'll be knocking on, or many people I'll be talking to, and I'll be like, I'm running for the RTM, and they'll be like, I have no idea what that is. So the RTM is the legislative body of our town, right? The two big things that it really does is budgetary and appropriating funds and ordinances, so like local laws, right? I like to sort of think of it a little bit as our town council. And so I have, for the past 10 years now here, been working with local government and been working with nonprofits trying to affect positive change in the community. When, I graduated high school and I went down to college, I tried to sort of create, initiatives and programs there, which were successful, but I found myself in a position where I could choose to try and, put effort into communities that might look good on a resume, right? Or I could really work to try and continue to make positive change here at home in this town that I just absolutely love, right? And so that's kind of when I made the decision of, I think the natural next step for me to try and affect positive change here and to be able to make an impact would be running for local office. And so that's why I'm running for RTM here in Westport. Now, of course, I happen to be in District 9, which is like the most contentious district in the town. So it's going to be a difficult race, but I think I can win it.
So you're knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And these, you're talking about the RTM and the people who are 20, 30, 40 years older than you have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Well, I say to them, firstly, I had no idea what it was like 3 years ago, right? I think, and I know you and I actually disagree on this a little bit, but I think the name RTM makes it a little bit difficult for people to appreciate sometimes how much power it actually has in the town because it's just not something that people are familiar with at all. But it's actually one of the major things that I really care about, and again, one of the major reasons why I'm running, is because there's tons of local issues that need to be tackled for sure. But the fact that so few people know what the RTM is, and that so few people are aware of what they can actually do when they are feeling a problem in the town. Oh God, I just totally lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Let's see. Right, when I'm knocking on those doors and asking them,
Right.
right? So when people, man, I am so sorry. I cannot believe I just totally lost my train
Nope,
of thought
that's
there.
so. If you win and get on the RTM,
Yeah.
is there an issue or
Right.
that you would want to pursue, or an ordinance that you're really
Thank you for
interested
steering
in?
me back, Dan. Yeah. So what I was gonna say is one of the things that I really care about is not just the fact that there are multiple issues that people want to have tackled, but that making sure that the community and that the neighbors and that the people that live here feel like they actually have a voice in the local government, feel like they actually know what our government is, how it runs, and the decisions that it's making right now, right? And when I'm knocking on doors and people are saying, what is the RTM and what can I do to sort of get involved? That's the real reason that I want to sort of, get involved here, right? So that's the big thing that I want to try to tackle. And I know you, as well as some of the RTM members have been trying to tackle that issue as well. There was a great event here just a month or so ago that I attended that was just trying to educate the community. Hey, this is what the RTM is, and this is, what we do, and these are the things that we're working on right now. So things are moving in the right direction, but I think that it needs to happen a little bit more.
I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you about a couple of
Oh,
town
God.
controversies.
Oh God, okay.
Hamlet.
Oh man, come on, starting off strong there, right? Well, I will say that Hamlet is technically a little bit outside of my district, but it's obviously been like the big topic of the town. As I've been knocking on doors, I have not yet met a person who was like, "Yes, I can't believe this thing is happening. I am so pumped!" Right? I think that there's a lot of people that have said that they want to see development happen there, and I am all for that. I think that the town, in the same way that Parker or Harding happened, at the YMCA happened, I think the town is going to change. But like I said, it's important that that change is actually a response to what the people that live in the town really want. So the Hamlet for me has been an issue more for the infrastructure and the practical aspect of it. I know there's some people that are just like, I don't want to see something as big as Sono popping up in Saugatuck, but the concerns around the traffic, the concerns around the fact that the fire department is going to be right down there and would be totally cut off to large areas of Westport, right, if it was built, are just like immediate fears that I have when we're talking about the Hamlet. But also, again, trying to be responsive to what the neighbors and what the people in the community of Westport want to see is really my top concern.
The community garden.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, so what specifically about the community garden? Because I know there's a lot of sort of moving pieces with it.
Do you have a spot where you would like to see it go?
Oh God. I'll tell you, this has been one of the topics that I've kind of sort of stepped back a little bit from. I know it's been something that's been really contentious, and I will say, I'm not really going to talk too much on it, if that's
Sure.
all right. Sorry.
Spoken like a true politician.
Yeah, I know. It's just like
Traffic.
Well, when I knock on doors and I say, what is the thing that you care the most about that's going on in the town? The first thing everyone says is, God, I wish there wasn't nearly as much traffic. I've talked with a lot of people who are trying to sort of tackle that issue. And I know, especially with parking with the DPIC, there are some plans that are in motion, right, to try and at the very least tackle a lot of parking type issues. I think that when it comes to traffic, a lot of the solutions that are currently on the table are not necessarily my favorite, but there was one neighbor that I talked to that brought up a really good point that I really liked, which is that the traffic sucks and it's a problem, but the thing that they care about the most with it is the congestion and sort of the danger to a lot of the pedestrians that are downtown. So I always walk downtown. I always bike downtown, right? And so
You're a brave man.
yeah, right. So because the amount of traffic and speeding and the lack of crosswalks and sidewalks and lights for a lot of pedestrians has been a really major issue. So when people ask me, well, what can we do about traffic? There are obviously things like, reopening Church Lane and what have you that might sort of reduce it a little bit. But what I really want to be focusing on is trying to increase a lot of the pedestrian infrastructure to make sure that even if there is a lot of congestion, that the other people that are also on the roads are able to still stay safe and are able to still, make it throughout the town.
Sure. That's the end of my
Oh, God. See, you were
questions.
smirking at me, and I was worried you're about to hit me with something else there.
I just want to, as we sort of wrap up here, what is it like for someone in your demographic
Yeah.
to live in Westport? Are there things to do? Are there people around? It's a community of little kids,
Yeah.
of families, and
Yeah.
what's it like to be your age living here?
I think it can be pretty hard. I'm going to be completely honest. I know one of the things that I say to a lot of people is that Westport is kind of a high school town, because rather than seeing college students walk everywhere, you kind of see a lot of high schoolers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Affordable housing has obviously been a really touchy subject for a lot of people, right? And I'll say that I am for realistic affordable housing solutions to try and make it more possible for young people like me to be able to continue to live in the town. Obviously things like the Hamlet, it's not the way that I would like to see that done, right? Ways that don't disrupt major neighborhoods. But I do think that as a young individual who loves this town and wants to continue to give back, it can be really hard to be here, right? A lot of people my age choose to sort of move out of the town, even though there are some fantastic resources here. It can be a little bit difficult to try and find some places, to go and some things to sort of do. I mean, Westport's dead by 8 o'clock. And things are definitely moving in the right direction. I went to the bridge over at Saugatuck the other night. Incredible place, right? And we were there till like 1 a.m, right?
Uh-huh.
So I agree with what a lot of people have been saying, which is they would like to see some changes happening in the town that maybe increase the nightlife here, that maybe bring it back to the way that it sort of used to be, where this town was a little more artsy and had a little bit more of a life. Without hurting the kind of Westport that everyone here loves. And as a young person, that's something that definitely strikes home for me, because I would love to get to have that experience and have more people like me here and have more of this type of energy in our town.
So where do you hang out?
I mean, it depends on what time of day you're talking about, but I will say, during the day, I still love coming to the library. I still, we have a beautiful downtown area. I love going into like all of the stores and talking with a lot of, the merchants and business owners down there. But in the evening, Saugatuck is really the place to be, I will say, right? Over by that bridge, over that whole area over there, right? That's one of my favorite places to go.
Great.
Yeah.
Go-to restaurant?
Yeah, well, I mean, restaurants downtown. Go into a
What's
restaurant.
your go-to?
Well, recently the Bridge has been my favorite spot. Not to give him a little sponsor, but the Bridge has been like my favorite place as of late. But going there and then just walking downtown with friends and just sort of taking in how beautiful our town is has been like one of my favorite things to do. So it's been good.
All right. A Westport booster, as long as he's been here.
Yep.
One of our youngest, if not the youngest, 06880 podcast guests. Addison Moore, thank you for sharing your very interesting perspective.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. It was a lot of fun.
Great. We learned a lot.